Well,
Oh, it is 4:15. Okay, folks. I'm calling the Finance Board of Finance of the St. Joseph Public County Library meeting to order. I will call the roll. Alan's not here, so he's absent. Ruth,
here,
Nicole,
here,
Christine,
here,
Terry,
Here.
and Rhonda.
Here.
And I'm here, so we have a quorum. We will have an election of the Library Board of Finance. Two offices are open, President and Secretary.
I would
Christine.
say, as chair of the nominations committee, I would like to nominate Ruth Warren for chair and Anjanette as treasurer.
Well, this is president and
Secretary.
secretary.
Oh, secretary,
Jeanette can't serve as secretary.
Oh,
for the
she's
Board of
treasurer.
Finance. She's
She's
treasurer
treasurer.
for the board.
okay. No, I would say it would be Alan,
Alan as secretary.
Alan
Okay.
as, Alan Feldbaum as secretary.
So Ruth Warren has been nominated for President of the Board of Finance, and Alan's been nominated for Secretary of the Board of Finance. Do I hear any other nominations?
I move to close nominations.
Nominations have been closed, have been moved to be closed. Do I have a motion to close nominations? Also, can I say it? Because Alan's not here.
We do not need to do roll call vote tonight.
Okay, very good. Okay, all in favor?
Do you need
Aye.
a second?
Oh, did I get a second? No,
No, second to close votes.
okay, I have a motion for the
Nomination.
close nomination. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Nicole second. Okay. It's been moved and properly seconded to close nominations for the Library Board of Finance. All in favor, aye. Any
I,
opposed? I don't hear any, so therefore, Ruth has been named president of the Board of,
You want to do an actual vote? We close the nominations.
we just voted. Oh,
no, we have to have,
Oh, sorry, we have to vote.
I think that I need to nominate, I need to recommend that we accept the slate of officers.
Okay, move to.
Okay,
And then
Accept the
somebody
slate.
needs to second that.
okay.
I'll second that.
Just do as you're told. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. We close the slate, this
That
city
we
office.
accept this list.
Except city offices. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Now we will elect those folks.
We did.
no, once we accept the slate,
Done.
they're elected.
They're-
Okay.
So then Ruth can take the Board of Finance meeting.
Just.
Review of investment.
Okay. That's a surprise, but I'm on it. All right, so the next agenda item is that we will review the investment policy and investment report.
It's almost entirely on Jeanette tonight, so if you're in doubt, just throw it to
Okay.
Jeanette.
All right,
So you can see the investment report, within the document. Our investment policy is based on Indiana code. And I'll just go briefly over the investment report. If there are any questions, please let me know at the end. We began in 2023 to begin investing, within Trust Indiana, which is, allowed by the state of Indiana. We have gradually moved the majority of our investments into Trust Indiana, outside of our regular bank accounts, checking, interest. We do have a few CDs, that are specified for, specific reasons. But the reason we are with Trust Indiana is because that their interest rate is more stable, and they can invest in, places that we cannot, so commercial paper and other things like that. If you can see from the documentation, that obviously our checking account interest, has gone down. And that's because we have moved a bulk of our dollars into, Trust Indiana. We have over the past 2 years, and you can look at the chart at the bottom, our interest, has gone up significantly, between 2023 and 2024. So are there any specific questions regarding the investments?
No specific questions, but I did hear today that the feds are not going to lower interest rates, at least for the next 6 months. So hopefully this rate of return will continue.
Right, and I would say that, I did pull the Trust Indiana information, they always give some great, information just in general on investments. And I'm reading directly from their document, Treasury bond yields have risen to multi-month, highs due to the uncertainty surrounding the new administration's trade and fiscal policies, as well as, slow progress toward the Federal Reserve's 2% inflation target. The Federal Reserve recently cut interest rates to 4.25 to 4.5. But that remains cautious, given the strong labor market and conditions and, the sticky inflation. So right now, our Trust Indiana yield, is 4.37%, which is, well above where we are with our.
It's higher than most banks.
Mhm.
Oh, it definitely is higher than.
Although,
most banks.
I've been seeing 4.5 recently.
Yeah,
Now, they're most of it in the.
there are some that are 4.5. There are CDs that, if we would lock into a CD, we would want to make sure that we locked in at a number that is at or a little bit higher than, but we know that with the fluctuations, being the Trust Indiana, we usually stay above that number.
Well, and the nice thing about Trust Indiana is its fluidity, so liquidity, I think that's the right word, liquidity. So we can take out any money usually within 24 hours.
So,
Which you can't do with a CD.
the CDs we have are at what amount?
The interest rates with the CDs are approximately 5%. At the time we lock those in, they will be coming due, within, I think March, June and July.
Okay.
And we put in 1.2 million in there, so, we'll have a good return, and they're using that for, additional dollars that we need for our construction projects.
1.2 million, is that the interest? Is that,
That's the interest that we earned last year. The first year we
you
earned.
put that into the CD?
No, that 1.2 million will just continue to stay in Trust Indiana day to day, but the 1.2 million was from
The
contract.
the 1.2 million in the CDs is from a contractual fund. From, those of you who've been here for a while, you remember when we, separated the contractual agreement with Mishawaka and Bremen. And those funds that are left, we have been planning to use for our project, so we put those in CDs to kind of keep them separate and keep track of them. But, so we'll cash those out when we're ready to pay for those projects.
Well, those are some very nice numbers.
Should go in my bank account.
So are we accepting? Okay.
Motion to accept.
Yeah, so I'll accept a motion to accept the review of the investment policy and investment report.
So moved.
A second. Oh, hello.
Any discussions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next, annual resolution for use of facsimile signature, investment of funds, and surety bond for the treasurer.
So this is an annual, resolution just to authorize, we have, the ability to use a facsimile stamp of my signature, which is also in our software, so a regular stamp. And then, also to be able to, if in my absence, executive director can use that stamp. I don't think he does that, but no, but so that we can have a facsimile signature, at our banks. And then, authorizing, myself and the director to be able to, invest the funds of the library according to the Indiana Code 513-9. And then I must be bonded every year. My bond is already signed and notarized. I just have to take it to be recorded, but it is $100,000 bond, that goes to the recorder's office. So that's basically a standard document here.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt the annual resolution?
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Do I now accept a motion for adjournment? I would like to accept a motion for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Finance meeting is adjourned.
Good job.
Okay. Now, I will call to order the regular St. Joseph Putnam County Library Board meeting. Determining a quorum. I will call the roll. I will start with Rhonda.
Here.
And we usually say you have your packet.
Oh, I do?
Very good. Terry,
Yes, and yes.
Christie,
Here, and I have my materials.
Nicole,
Here, and yes, I have my material.
and Ruth.
Here, I have my materials.
And I have my materials, thanks to you guys. So, all right. We have a quorum. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, which is in front of you.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I second.
It's been moved and properly second that we approve the consent agenda as listed.
I do have one question.
Yes,
Could we hear any more about the Indiana Arts Commission grant?
what it was for.
She's not here. Okay, it was $5,000.
I'm trying to remember what it's for, because she's working on a couple of different grants right now.
It's
And
for
we-
library,
I think it was listed with, it was for
For lifelong, is it our senior series?
Like it just said lifelong. you know, it's great.
lifelong, sounds like a euphemism for
Lifelong arts
seniors,
grant.
doesn't it?
Here we go.
Lifelong Arts Grant.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think, they did the textile workshops the last time, so I think something similar going forward. For seniors.
Seniors, okay. Okay. Does it answer your questions, Kristen?
Does
Okay,
answer.
all right. We have a motion on the floor to accept the consent agenda. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
I'm,
Any opposed? Ayes have it. We will accept the consent agenda. The director's report, Stephanie.
Yes, so we had our first owner architect contractor in-person meeting at Center. It looks pretty empty in there right now, so that's exciting, and they'll start putting that back together. We had community meetings at Western and LaSalle. Overall, people were very excited. The very first people who came to Western, they were there at least a half an hour early, and they were, it's about time we get something in our neighborhood. And then they told us about their wedding reception that they had at ZB Falcons. And we got just more and more stories from them about the Falcons building, and in general, the people were very excited, and they had, you know, they looked at the boards, which I brought here tonight. They're just excited about what's going on out there.
door to door, how far are the two buildings apart?
Old Western and New Western?
Yeah,
11-minute walk.
11-minute
It's an
walk.
11-minute walk, yeah. I don't remember what.
So is that 6 block? I don't, 11.
It's, well, the blocks out there are not city blocks, because you've got Kroger
Yeah.
and you
Maybe
cross,
half a mile, maybe.
yeah. That's not far at all. And then, so we had about 30 people come out to Western and about 7 to LaSalle. Once people heard we were not moving or closing LaSalle, they were like, do whatever you want.
Fix it up.
Fix it up. So, and then we've been having conversations with Veritas Group, which that's one of the agenda items later, so we'll talk a little bit more about that later. We have seen a real uptick in the number of unsheltered people we have at the library. It's not unique to us. And met with the library director from Winnemac last week, and they have 5, which for them and their community is a lot. But that is challenging for us and for our staff. So we're working to balance their needs with compassion while also holding everyone to the code of conduct. So we do work closely with the City of South Bend Homelessness Coordinator and Oklahoma City Outreach Team. There just is a shortage of supportive housing here in the city, so. In addition to the listed donations, the foundation received an anonymous donation of $25,000 unrestricted.
That's nice.
Nice.
Yeah, very nice. $3,000 gift from Casey Buckles and Matthew Blazewski. And $2,000 from the Werner Family Fund. The legislative session has begun downstate. There will almost certainly be some kind of tax reform. We don't know what that looks like, but that will affect every local unit of government. There, to what degree, nobody knows. Every local unit of government, from the county to the townships to the libraries, are all watching tax reform bills. Senate Bill 283 specifically affects libraries. It did receive its first committee hearing, but it's not expected to move forward. There's a lot of lack of clarity in that bill and what it means for libraries and for county councils. But we'll continue to watch that.
What was that bill number? I'm sorry.
283. Our vendor continues to have delays for audiobook titles from Hatchet Publishing, so staff, that creates a lot of work for staff to cancel those orders and then purchase them from another supplier. And these are CD audiobooks, so I'm not sure what exactly the holdup is, but it seems to be affecting our new supplier as well. So if you hear anybody complaining about lack of access to brand new audiobooks, we're trying. We're trying.
Well, couldn't they get them on Libby
They
anyway?
could get them on Libby or Hoopla. Too, so depending on the title. But the physical CD audiobooks are getting harder.
They're phasing out CDs.
Probably,
Streaming's gonna be the.
yeah, and I think it's less safe to use a CD audiobook in your car
Oh,
than to connect it to.
there's a CD player in your car.
Yeah, you can't convince my mom to give up her CDs though, so.
I would love to have it in my car, but it's not there.
And this last bit from our youth services manager, an astounding increase in teen room usage over the fall semester, with monthly door counts between 500 and 700 compared with last year, the same time period, averaging 350 to 500. So a lot of new teams, regulars coming more consistently, and a lot of them using Studio 304 as well. So
That's a good thing.
good stuff there.
Great numbers.
Everything new is old again. Everything old is new again, because when I was in high school, with the library, that was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm old. Yes.
It's a place to meet.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept Stephanie's report?
So moved.
I have a second.
Second,
It's been moved and properly seconded. We receive the report of our Executive Director, Stephanie Murphy. Any questions? If not, do I have a motion to accept? All in favor, say aye, please.
I,
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, we will move on to patron engagement report, followed by the finance report.
Okay, I'll give you just a few highlights on, I guess it would be page 23, if you're looking at the PDF. Under program snapshots, I just posted something from social media for from the Entrepreneur Hour with Kathy Burnett. She's the owner of Brain Layer Books, and we partner with her on author events. And that was an event that's also a podcast, which is pretty cool. And then for top checkouts, I just put books that were, this is for all of 2024. Just got used to saying 2025, so it's gonna be hard for me to say 24. But I think it's pretty cool that the Pigeon books and Diary of a Wimpy Kid are still at the top. But then the Runaway book is a story anthology created by first grade students at the Community School Corporation. And it was in partnership with the library and the SB Ready program.
And it was one of the top checkouts?
It was the top nonfiction circulating children's book.
That's amazing.
I know.
What's the title again?
The Runaway book.
Okay.
you brought copies. Couple of board
Yes,
meetings
yes.
ago, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Not now, but yeah, we did. And then moving on to library use, I wanted to point out that the December gate count for the main library saw a 51% increase from December of 2023. And then system-wide, we saw a 15.5% increase in gate count system-wide.
in December,
For the whole year.
for the whole year.
Yeah, for the whole year.
When something goes right, it seems like a good idea to try to figure out why it went right. What
Sometimes you don't ask.
could you attribute any of this
As
to?
far as door count.
I think we're just still seeing recovery from COVID numbers, so every year, we're not to our pre-COVID numbers yet, but we're creeping closer, so I think just the more people get used to being back in all of the public spaces, we're gonna continue to see those numbers going, and I think our communications team is doing a really good job.
Then for circulation for December, the total circ we held steady at just under 160,000, which is similar to December of 2023. But Tut saw a 32% increase in circulation for December.
And we know that's because we closed center.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's a pretty,
This is so true.
pretty easy correlation there.
Doesn't need to be analyzed.
And then for the whole system, for all of 2024, we saw a decrease in physical circulation of 7%. However, digital platforms like Hoopla, Overdrive, and Canopy saw a 15% increase in circulation.
Well, and I will also say, Terry, that this year I challenged branch managers to pick a KPI for something that they could feel like they had some control over. Some of them picked door count numbers, some of them picked program attendance, and some of them picked circulation, like what could they do to try and increase these numbers? And so some of them did pick door count and were successful at that, and part of the goal was for them to just intentionally spend time inviting people back into the building or inviting people to attend programs.
For library services, I just wanted to point out that in Studio 304, computer use increased by nearly 50%. Maybe it's the team that are. Then for programs and outreach, several locations saw increases in attendance. For example, Tut, again, saw an increase of 60%, and Western 53%. And then overall system-wide for the whole year, there's a 25% increase in program attendance. That's all.
And Jeanette,
All right, so, inside, in your packet, you'll see, the end of year, fund report and the appropriations. A lot of the data that's going to, finalize that will be really, the resolutions that you will, approve. But if there are any specific questions on the fund report, as you know, a lot of our dollars sit again in Trust Indiana. So, you'll see, even though the general fund is $100,000, the rest of it is sitting in the operating in Trust Indiana. So that's really the full operating balance. And then, if there's any questions you have specific to the appropriations or expenditures for the year, as you can see at the bottom, by the third page, we did keep within our numbers where we like to stay. So our wages are at 62%. We try to keep that within at about 63%. Materials from the state mandate is about 8%. We're at 14.01, so we're definitely making sure that we have the materials that we need for the library, and make sure that that is a huge part of exactly what we do. So, if there are any questions regarding the fund report or the appropriations report?
No more audits?
No, I won't say that. We have not
Say
gotten
that word
our information about our audit, but the SBOA audit is every 2 years. So we did not have an SBOA audit last year, which means we should be having one this year. Component unit audit is every year, so I anticipate that we'll be getting a call here soon. I will say that the county did put into place where they started collecting some information from us early on. So it had to do with their debt service and all that type of stuff. So we've already submitted some of those documents to them already. We had a meeting with Vicky from SBOA just to talk about our experience with the outside auditors and things like that, and just give her what our experience has been, through the audit process. So I anticipate an audit. I'm not worried about an audit at all, but just haven't gotten an email of when it's gonna start.
I would like to commend you for how well you've handled those things. I hate it.
Yeah, Lindsay, I love them, but I've done it for 30 years, so. I'm
Great.
just kind of used to it.
Well, and I will say that Vicky came to talk to us partly because the component unit audits between libraries and counties are fairly new in the last 5 years, and our county has done a really good job of them. So she wanted to talk to us about our experience. What we found working with Abby and John over at the county has been a really positive experience for us, so it's a good communication both ways.
And one thing with the component unit, we're taking cash basis accounting and moving it to GAAP. And so we use Approval Lot as kind of our in-between. They take our data and move it to GAAP basis and then move it through the audit process. So
Now
I
you're
don't
just
have-
throwing out some real accounting
Yeah,
terms.
I don't, Terry does. But it's just a different basis of accounting, and so I don't have to do it. They do it for us, which is great, and the county pays.
I can handle acronyms.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that thought you guys are all in real estate and you talked about MLS.
Oh.
All I want to know, I don't say any of that at all. The bottom line for us, based upon this, is that we spent 76% of our budget.
So remember, we don't get our entire
Right,
budgeted
we don't
amount,
get our entire-
so we
Right.
always want to make sure we're
Right.
spending.
So, that's good. So that's good.
And because we're getting interest, we are definitely working toward, our cash balance is there.
Mhm.
But we are working to do the things that we need to do to spend what we need to spend, within that budget. You'll see farther down in your packet, we are moving some dollars to rainy day,
Mhm.
and continuing to do that, to manage our cash flow.
Good.
And that's really to consider our 10-year plan, right?
Yes,
So we've
yes.
got the bond for these two
Right.
buildings, but the rest we have to save money in order to do the improvements on our other buildings.
I still can't go to Hawaii.
Nope. No, sir.
Okay, you've heard the report from Patron Engagement Services and Financial Report. I need a motion to approve both of those.
So moved.
I have a second.
1 second.
It's been probably moved in second that we accept the report, Patron Engagement and for Finance. Any questions? And I will call the question. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, ladies. Okay. Is any more old business? Or unfinished business, I should say. If not, we will move on to new business. So. Nominations, and election of officers for the next year. Christine, you as chair of the nominating committee, would you give your report, please?
yes, I would give my report. As you can see, the dates have been corrected in what was sent to us in a later thing, but we know that we've already voted for president and secretary of the Board of Finance. We'll move to a slate for nomination and election of board officers for 2025. Do we first open nominations?
No, give your slate first.
Okay, I will give my slate. For officers for the 2025 year, I am recommending Ruth Warren for president, Nicole Garcia for vice president, and Alan Feldbaum for secretary.
Are there any nominations from the floor? Terry shaking his head.
Then someone could move to accept her slate.
Have a motion to accept the slate for officers. That all speak at once. Terry,
So moved.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second. So moved and probably second that we accept the slate of officers for
25.
2025. Of Ruth Warren for president and Nicole Garcia for vice president and Alan Feldbaum as secretary. Any discussion, any questions? I will call for a vote. All in favor of the slate, say aye.
All right.
Aye. Any opposed? So ordered. So, Madam President.
Congratulations.
It's all.
Hammer.
I have nothing else to read, thank God. So, there you go.
What are these tabs?
That's for me. Those are the pages that you have to go through.
That's the next
The next
agenda.
agenda.
Got
So,
it. Thank you. My coaching is being done in public. All right, so, next on the agenda are board president appointments. Do you guys need to think vote on it or just?
We don't need to.
Okay. So for finance, we have Terry as the chair and Rhonda as the committee member. For personnel, we have Marvin as the chair and Nicole as the committee member. And for public service, we have Alan as the chair and Christine as the committee member.
Thank you. And just FYI, Rhonda, since it's your first meeting, these committees don't typically meet on a regular basis, but I would ask them to meet, or Ruth would ask them to meet if there was a need.
All right, next on the agenda is certification of internal controls.
that's the tab. Well, it's on the back. She was supposed to say. No, that's not it.
That's the,
That's it.
okay. So, we need a motion for this.
Yeah, and all this says is that we do in fact do internal controls training here at the library, which Rhonda, you will be receiving a video from Azaria along with a paper design, because you also need to watch the very exciting SBOA internal controls video.
The beginning of it's the exciting part, my 5 minutes. And then you can watch the morning.
So, I need a motion that we are certifying that the training concerning internal controls is being carried out as required. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next, we have the resolution for cancellation of old outstanding checks. I was pretty amazed at some of these amounts.
Yeah,
It's like, don't people want their money? Wow,
yeah, $20 is one thing, but 3,000.
I know.
They must have lousy accounting.
We need to find one person.
Wow. All
And
right,
this is
so,
also required by the state of Indiana.
it looks like there's a 2-year.
Yeah.
So I would like a motion to, for the resolution of cancellation of old outstanding checks. Do I have a motion?
My motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Me too, you're like an old.
Sometimes I go too fast. So you might want to slow me
I've
down.
got a feeling they'll
Okay,
get their money from other
next.
ways, because right.
Resolution to transfer funds within the library operating fund category. Anjanette, do you have something to say about that?
Yeah, so, during the year, and definitely at the end of the year, because of how we do our budget, we do have detailed line items. In some cases, some libraries have them very, not more summary, right? They just have the major categories. And so sometimes, depending on how granular they are, those lines appear to be, to go negative or very close to the budget. And so at the end of the year, to ensure that if that does not show negative, obviously we did not spend all of our money. We had money, we had all of our expenditures. We just moved those budget lines, those dollars in whole, between specific lines to make sure that they are not negative. We try to get as close as we can throughout the year, but fluctuations happen that change throughout the year. But we know that overall our budget is always in alignment and are not going over budget. So we just make a transfer between those lines to make sure that those are in alignment with the department reports.
Hey, any questions?
Some of that, just because I'm new and I want to make sure I'm understanding this, some of that is because we don't get, because of the tax restrictions and stuff, we don't get all the money that we budget for, so some of that comes up because of that probably.
Probably not necessarily for us, but yes, we budget at a working budget. So we make sure that those numbers are there. But we have a healthy, cushion there.
Just because your budget is what you think you're gonna spend, and
Right.
sometimes it doesn't, it's not perfect, so it's
Right,
just,
right.
it's just right sizing those
Yeah.
numbers.
And that's what I thought, I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
I was-
Yep.
And I try to not do, and the board will know this, that I try to not move often through the year, so I usually have a pretty healthy cushion where I know they are. So usually about June, July, we may do another transfer, and then somewhere close to the end of the year. So I really try to, we've gotten pretty close there that we don't have to do transfers every month out of certain categories, so we're getting through there.
Any other questions? All right, do I have a motion to transfer funds within the library operating fund major category?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, motion is passed. Next, resolution to transfer funds within the library improvement reserve fund. Anjanette?
Yeah, so this is the same thing. We usually, we added a category last year, that had to do, just so we can see, our engineering costs and some other architectural costs in there. And so we just needed to transfer and move it into that category. It's still coming out of library, improvement reserve fund. It is still for the buildings. It's still, within that category.
Any questions? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded that we will transfer funds within the library LARF fund category. Any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion passed. Next, resolution of transfer from the operating to self-insurance reserve fund. Jeanette?
So a year ago, we created a self-insurance reserve fund. So that we would be able to use some additional dollars and save some for the insurance, to make sure that we have a reserve available. And that was our first year, and we didn't quite move enough there for that appropriation there. So again, it's just moving from our regular group insurance into this self-insurance reserve fund so that it's not showing negative. This year, we looked at it, we flipped it. We should have plenty of that, plenty in the reserve fund to not have to do this transfer. We should be fine, but that's, again, same as the other two transfers, to just make sure that that account does not show negative.
That's just claims, right?
Yeah, yes.
Any questions? All right, do I have a motion to approve the resolution to transfer funds from operating to self-insurance reserve fund?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is passed to transfer the funds from operating to self-insurance reserve fund. Next, resolution to encumber the operating fund.
Okay, so, probably more so for Rhonda, but, we, at the end of the year, we are able to basically say that if we have some purchase orders that, the item is not coming in until 2025, we can say, well, we're gonna put the PO in, but we're gonna pay it with 2024 funds if we have 2024 funds left. And so that's basically what encumbering the funds are. And, so this list is all of the purchase orders that have not been fulfilled in 2024 that we are going to pay for with 2024 dollars, but we're not gonna pay it until 2025. So that is what this list is.
Questions? Do I have a motion to encumber operating funds?
So moved.
I'll second.
Thanks, Nicole.
I'm not sure about it.
All in favor to encumber the operating funds? Say aye.
Aye.
Come on, people, let's.
Aye.
Just spin a bunny.
That's nice and warm in here.
Try that again. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed? And the motion passes. Next. Resolution to transfer from the operating to the self-insurance. Didn't we do that?
No.
This
Oh,
is
25, got it. Okay, yeah.
So, as I said, in we have the self-insurance fund. When we budget this fund, we budget for the transfer to self-insurance fund. That's what we do when we send it to DLGF. That's what gets approved. So the 1.441 million is what got approved. We now in 2025 have to move it into the self-insurance fund. And that's what this is actually doing. Then we will exhaust that out of our claims and everything as the year goes on. And hopefully we'll still have a positive number at the end of the year. But we have to do that because of how the budget is created. It's created as a transfer to self-insurance, and then at the beginning of the year, we actually have to transfer it.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, I could use a motion to transfer 2025 funds from operating to self-insurance reserve fund.
Move to approve?
Second,
Thank you.
welcome.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. So then the next is transferring from the operating to the rainy day fund 2025.
We are allowed to move 10%. We still have dollars left from in the prior year, and we are allowed to move 10% of our budget to rainy day. And this equates to 10% of our budget. We have the funds to move that. So we're moving 2.3 million in 2025 to rainy day.
Any questions? So I would like a motion to pass a resolution to transfer funds to the rainy day fund 2025.
So,
Motion.
so
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Next, Veritas Group contract.
So the Veritas Group is an owner's representation group for construction projects. They came to me very highly recommended by a number of other library directors who've used them on their projects. They're very proactive in estimations upfront, recommending other materials in order to save costs. And then just following through your project all the way to the end and making sure that all of our change orders are correct, that all of our bills are correct, that our punch list gets completed, and they'll be with us all the way through the punch list and warranty period. So I'm requesting that we approve this contract with which Myra reviewed for us for the Veritas.
That's my question, but yes,
Yes.
our attorney.
how is this different from what we would have called a general contractor?
They don't do the work. Sometimes you have a construction manager that works with them, but they really work for the contractor. This is a group that will represent us. So they're double checking everything as though we were double checking all of it for us.
Mm.
And if there are disputes along the way, or if we don't, instead of me having to go to the contractors and saying, well, we don't like how you did this, they'll do that for me. And they'll again, they're just really creative in the way they approach things too, so that we get the best use of money from taxpayer dollars.
This is completely new to me. Have we used this kind of service?
Andrew and Bully was.
That's who
we-
did it.
Is that their
That's-
position?
yeah.
I always saw them. Okay, I never quite made the connection. Okay,
Yeah.
Got it.
So they did the same work for this project.
Got it.
Will they be giving monthly reports the way we did with Andrews and Bully, or
Did Andrew and Bully come here to the?
No, they were
report
on-
to the board?
Published.
they were,
Antonia would come.
Okay,
Yes, and they would,
Not in person, but it was all Zoom. It's also time of life, when everybody was Zoom.
right. we
it
can-
doesn't have to be every month, but I'm from
They
time
can
to
give us
time.
updates, yeah. Rhonda, you would like.
I do. As I was reading over this, I know that contracts and buildings and things sometimes have deadlines that have to be done, or you don't get this money, or you don't get this grant, or you don't get this. This says that they're not liable for anything, so does that mean if they hire the contractors to do this and it's not done, that we're still liable for those penalties or anything?
Well, they wouldn't hire the
We hire.
contractors, we would hire
You
the
would hire them.
contractors.
Okay,
Yep, so all of the contracts will be with us.
okay.
And the attorney reviewed all of it, and she
Right.
did make a couple of small changes to the language that they were happy to make.
So we're gonna hire the contractors, but if there's a dispute or something, they're gonna go stand in for you to do that
They would be willing
too, okay.
and they would be representing us in
Right,
those
right.
disputes as well, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Good question.
So the contract was in the packet.
Yes,
So, we need a motion to approve the owner's representation consulting agreement with Veritas.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
thank you.
Board bylaws.
So the bylaws, every 3 years, we must review them, so we're at that mark. This is based off of a template provided to me by Myra. And that was created by the state library in 2018, I believe. It is a simplification of our bylaws in many ways, and one of the things that's no longer in there is these standing committees, it's just ad hoc committees. And then I pulled back in some of the things that were in our current bylaws that still needed to be there. For example, the rules on electronic meetings. That is a law that was passed after 2018. And those are pretty much verbatim from Indiana code. So that's the marks in red, therefore review and discussion this time, and then I'll bring it back next month for approval. It requires 30 days.
I really appreciate you doing this. I was on a committee for another board that reviewed the bylaws and it was a pain. So thank
It's
you.
not the most exciting thing to read, as were the rest of the documents you all had to read for this month's board meeting.
May,
But they are necessary.
may I ask a quick question?
Sure.
On page 1, section 1, why is St. Joseph County in blue letters?
Oh, because that's wording that I added into the template. If it's in blue, I added it. If
Okay.
it's in red, I pulled it from our current bylaws.
Okay, okay.
And all the black is from the template.
So this is for discussion.
Yep,
Any other comments?
I have a couple.
sure.
Because I was comparing the bylaws that you gave me the other day
Mhm.
with this new one, and there's like you said, it's a lot more simplified and it's a lot of differences. But on the new one, it says members of the board will be called trustees, will be trustees in parentheses. Shall serve without compensation and blah, blah, blah. But then later throughout it, you're not calling them trustees, you're calling them members. And was that a mistake or is that, why are we changing it to trustees if we're still gonna say members? It's kind of
They're
my
used
question.
interchangeably, really, when
Right.
you talk about words.
Okay.
I can look at that. Is
And
there
the
a way to make a
old
note?
one sometimes said
Right,
trustees and sometimes said
Yeah.
directors.
right.
So I think that this
Right.
is.
But
what
we
I've
can
seen is
try and
more
make that
consistent.
Consistent throughout.
Mhm.
I think a trustee could be a member, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
I just wasn't sure I was understanding why we were putting trustees in parentheses and changing it if we were still gonna say members anyway, all the way through it. I mean, I wasn't sure it was needed, especially if you were trying to simplify it.
Yeah, we'll have a look at that. Miss Sarah will remind me. Anything else?
And the purpose statement on the old one, just doesn't seem to be involved in the new one anywhere that I found. And I was wondering, like section, Article 2, Section 1, purpose in the old bylaws doesn't seem to really be in here. It's kind of a little bit, but not really there. And I
Are
mean,
you wishing to see more of that?
well, I think, to me, if I was looking at the bylaws of the library, if I was someone new coming into the community and looking at the bylaws of the library, to have something, it says authority and purpose, but then it doesn't really give the purpose. It just gives the authorities. And it just seems like it'd be helpful to have the purpose in there or something.
What's
Also-
the language in the old bylaw that you're looking at?
The old bylaw says the purpose of St. Joe County Public Library shall be to establish, maintain, and develop public library services throughout the library's district as part of the provisions for public education and provide free library services for all individuals in order to meet the educational, informational, and recreational interests in the needs of the public. These library services shall include collecting and organizing books and other library material and providing references, loans, and related services to library patrons. These library services are provided by St. Joseph County Public Library, supported by public funds. And, I mean, and it's fine. You list all the authorities, but it says authorities and purpose, and you don't really have a purpose there. You just have the authorities that we have. So
I'm
I would-
curious if the IC 3612 delineates that.
Probably, but.
Well, I mean, I don't
Right.
know. I don't know if
It-
it does or not.
Section 1, which she's reading
Right.
from the current bylaws, is almost exactly out of the code. But I don't think it's a bad idea to pop it back in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It just,
no, I
an
agree.
outside influence coming in to read our bylaws and then to say we have a purpose in it, not really being explained, didn't make sense to me.
Ask the question and allow. Is
You can't ask me, you have to check with the president.
Madam President, may I ask a question? Are these bylaws the library's bylaws or the board's
Right,
bylaws?
yeah.
Because that's, my interpretation of what was read was that is the purpose of the library
And
and
not
not the purpose of the board. And if this is the board's bylaws, that shouldn't be in there.
Right, and so our purpose isn't to do that, like,
Correct.
so according to, so
But
I feel like our purpose, right, is the board shall govern the library. Right, so our purpose is to govern, our purpose is to um make sure that,
But I was reading from what you gave me the other day, it was the St. Joseph County Public Library Board bylaws. And that's what this new form is also, is the board bylaws, so.
it doesn't say it in
Yeah,
the
the second
title.
one doesn't say, yeah, this one
Yeah,
doesn't say board.
They are the board
Right.
bylaws, so we can make that too.
In the title.
in the
Put it
title.
back in the
Yeah.
title. Fresh eyes.
It always helps to have. fresh eyes.
Mhm.
So what do y'all think? To Nicole and on Jeanette's point, that is the purpose of the library,
Right.
purpose of the board is governance.
I think
And that
that's
makes
right.
sense, I hadn't thought about it that way, so that kind of makes sense.
But I will review that piece and make sure it's clear.
Good.
These are the board bylaws. Yeah, so the board's purpose is to govern that.
so should you put maybe board public library bylaw in the title?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
Board of Trustees, please.
There you go. board.
Yeah, just, yeah. Correct.
Not trustees.
Here and after report.
Yes.
This is for 30 days. So we vote on it next month.
Correct. And this is why, to give a little time to review.
Rhonda, thank you for your close reading. Anything else? No other comments? All right, have at it, Mrs. Murphy.
Yes, ma'am. It'll be. Other unfinished business next month. You'll find it in unfinished
Okay.
business.
Next agenda item, is there any other business before the board? No other business. We are moving to hearing of visitors. Do we have anyone signed up?
No.
Okay. Next agenda item, strategic plan updates, create destination spaces.
So I got for you tonight the renderings of Western and LaSalle. So I don't want to keep you all too long. It's a long agenda, but let me just do it real quick and then you can ask me questions after if you want. Okay. I'll start over here. The addition for LaSalle. Will go on this side of the building. The entrance gets turned and faces this way. And right now you come in, one of the most interesting things about this building is the clear story, which everything in the building right now cuts your eye off at the low ceiling height and you don't look up at all. And you actually come in under the low part of the ceiling. And then in the renovation, you'll come in under the clear story. This won't be the mural that, no, we don't have mountains around here. There will be some kind of art on that wall up in the clear story. And then the circulation desk gets moved over by the workroom. The fireplace does come out and we put shelving in there and that just puts a really colorful thing at the end here. Underneath this wooden is some seating and that goes into our addition. In the addition, and we're still working through some details on this, but we want to do two things. We want to have a meeting space, but also our vision is like, what makes this library a destination? And that's that create destination spaces. If this is not your neighborhood library, why would you come? So we're planning an art studio here, sort of like a Studio 304, except low tech. So watercolors, a Cricut, a sewing machine, that sort of thing in this space. And that would give people a reason to visit LaSalle, even though it's not their neighborhood location. And these are just some of the inspiration photos the architects used to start conversations with patrons who came to that community meeting. Western. This is the, I will say, we like this, we don't love this, which is what I told the architect last week. So he's rethinking it a little bit. I don't know what it will end up looking like, but this is the ZB Falcons building as it is now, this roof line. Let's see, I can look at that.
That roof line is what we would see if we were driving down.
Yeah.
Western
down
Avenue.
Western right now. And so the addition comes in front and alongside, so you get a vestibule. But I think maybe some more windows up at the front.
Something needs to break up that space.
Yep, so we really did like this yellow, like the angle and the color here, but don't love it. So
It's
he's
harsh. It's harsh.
gonna start
Mhm.
over with the front and we'll see where we go. But the idea of the addition and where it's gonna go will be there. And this, you can see here, this will be patio space and overlook a green space on the side of the building.
I think even more colors, when you think of like children's hospitals, colorful and catches your.
Well, and one of the things when they showed this to us, and this was a very quick turnaround between the time we closed on the property at Western and asked them to do a community meeting for us. They were a little worried this was gonna be too much color for us. And it's a very Polish, very Latino Hispanic community. I said, let's have more color. So, they're back at the drawing board there. We are pretty happy with the interior layout of the building, which separates the quiet and the noisy spaces. This is the adult collection and the study rooms in the addition. And the computer lab, it's not really a lab space there here. We're capturing back a little more, this gray is staff space, we're capturing a little more of that back to the public. And then children back here and meeting room attached to the kitchen. And this will have a, can't remember, did we decide 2 spaces or movable wall? Anyway. We can do a program for 100 people.
We heard back and forth
We
on
went
both
back
of
and
them,
forth on
and
both
it
of
can't,
them.
they're blended together.
Does children's combine littles with
Yeah,
teens?
youth, it's all youth.
Okay.
Yeah. And the idea of this is really to have, I don't know if it will be a garage door, but some version of this where it doesn't feel like you're going into a room because to get the teens after school to come into a room for programming is really hard. So how do we make this feel like it's just part of everything else? So that, and we'll probably hand out after school snacks from the kitchen to sort of draw them in. And then have activities available to them here. I will say, really exciting for our children's spaces, and I don't think, did I show you the drawings of what we're doing at Center?
Probably.
I did, with the teardrop camper and the canoe. Here, no, at LaSalle, we're playing with the idea and the furniture people are working on an airplane and a train, because we're right up there by the airport in the South Shore. And then we're still trying to figure out what that feature is gonna look like at Western. So that's the path we're on. Nothing is done, but we would expect to wrap that up in the next month or so here.
Just general. How much more space is the new Western versus the old Western?
About 3,000 square feet more.
Okay.
And really, the ability to have a large program out there just doesn't exist right now. And we think with all of our additional parking, you can see the size of the lot. Out there, we'll have a bunch of additional parking. And then this green rectangle will be garden space, which they don't have really at all out there. And you'll be able to sit on the covered porch and see the garden space. We don't know what we're doing with this lawn besides keeping it maintained. Right now, we'll just kind of see how the branch functions and decide whether we want to keep that long term or not. So we're just on hold for that space.
Except for the big white spot.
Well, I don't want the brick either. And and they said, well, we heard timeless. And I said, but not timeless looking backwards. Timeless looking forward.
Are the vertical? Is that planks or, well,
I think it's metal.
you know, that looks like whole building, I'm sorry. Is there-
Well, it kind of matches the roof line.
Yeah, it does.
There, which is
More-
yeah,
Yeah, and
they're
it
right,
will
right.
likely have metal siding, but I think Rana said, I think, and I think she said it fairly well, it looks like new suburban church. Which is fine and nice, it's just not what we
Whole
want.
building.
But
So-
Western is so beautiful with all the new shops and all kinds of things. So I think additional color would be nice.
Yeah.
Always.
So this
Yeah.
is a start to the facade, and
If it's broken up enough, it would less look like whole building.
yeah. Yeah, or even if this was a bright color.
It would-
Right. And I see what they were trying to do here, right? With this space, they're trying to draw people into the entrance, and it does that. But I want something more,
More grand, we kept saying.
so we'll see where they go next with it.
And right now there's a bus stop right in front, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Like that.
Yeah.
Is it covered? Is it a shelter bus stop?
No, no, I don't think so. But we also are now the proud owners of a billboard. That we have a contract.
Come to the library.
Well, Daniel's looking right now to see when we want to start using that billboard for our own. purposes.
Electronic?
What part of the building are those two pictures on the right?
Those are inspiration as well. And I do think we'll do some sort of a mural outside on the wall by the outdoor space. Which ones were you looking at?
The far right on the top, yeah. What part of the building would that be?
Just inspiration. This is not, this is not our
Oh.
building. These are just to start the conversation with the public about what do they like, what do they not like. But this is what they showed us as inspiration for the front, which is an
Oh.
NYPL.
Yeah,
This is what we got.
yeah.
We're like, we love.
That's why I was
this.
like, what's wrong with that? Why didn't
I love
that?
this.
Yeah.
But, and some of it, I mean, NYPL has NYPL money.
Right.
We don't. And when you get into those larger windows, it takes a different system.
Yeah.
And we'll see what we can do, where we can get.
I like the bottom little cubby for the kids area.
Yes, can I just tell you what Heidi has planned over here at LaSalle by the plane? Cubbies like that, but they would look like little luggage pieces.
Oh, that's cute. That's cute.
That's cute.
That's smart.
That's why you need a good team. I would never come up with that idea.
So that extra space that you said you weren't gonna do anything but maintain it right now. In that, especially in that community on Western, with the mixture and everything that's there, could you allow them to use it for community gardens?
We've talked about lots of different things. Community garden is one of them, like native plants with walking trails is another one.
Or is there a horticulture group or anything at the high school that could maybe utilize that land?
That's an idea. And then another thing we thought about is the need for housing is really high in this community. So could we sell it to a developer that particularly does lower the market rate housing too? So those are all ideas we've played with, but we hate to commit to anything
Right.
before we see how people use the building.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yep.
That's why I was thinking gardens or something, because that's something you could just tell them, we're not using this right now until we get our finalized plans, you know.
Yeah, and have somebody else
And it's-
maintain it for,
yeah.
I did try to get the city to do that, but for like a pocket park, but
Yeah.
they weren't
Unity Gardens might be,
interested, but
Community
Unity
Gardens,
Gardens is
'cause
not
they're
far away.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like I said, maybe the high school has something that they could use it for.
Yeah, we'll have a look.
So Washington has,
Yeah.
Washington. Do a medical program,
Medical.
yeah, medical library.
You know, I don't know if you could connect with the Mural Mania that they do every year, you know, when they pick buildings.
Yeah, Alex Allen, yeah. Her, or I think Vicente had an idea for an artist too. He works over at Western. And there was an artist that did one of the murals at the west side that got a lot of community involvement, so community members were doing the actual painting of the mural, so something active like
Yeah.
that, we'd like to see happen. So,
Yep.
all that will come.
Okay, any other questions for Stephanie? Nice job.
Yeah.
A lot of work there. Next on the agenda are our library board meeting dates. Monday, February 24th at 4:15 here. And in March, Monday, March 24th, 4:15 here. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a comment about the meeting dates.
Yeah.
I really liked it when we occasionally met at a branch. And I would encourage that.
Well, I think this area has some of them planned and some meeting rooms booked after winter.
Okay,
yeah, it's
So-
good after winter,
yeah, better.
less driving.
Yeah, so we'll get you around to the branches.
Did I get a second? Yeah, you seconded the adjournment.
I just asked a question, but I will.
Well, before we adjourn, I want to just say that the Jason Reynolds event was
Thank you.
spectacular,
He just, the
spectacular.
bomb.
Yeah, and the attendance, spectacular. So thank you for that. And I actually, was so much more interested in him that I went searching on the internet, and Brene Brown has a podcast where she interviews him, which I think is also worth listening to, so.
Well, and if you haven't heard his podcast that he does about his mom, it's about 3 or 4 podcast episodes where he talks about his mom. That's a really good one too. No, he's just, I think he's a genius writer, storyteller, author, and he was at Adams, and we didn't get as many students as we thought we were gonna have at Adams. We thought we were gonna have 50 and we had 85. And Mel said he was just wonderful with the kids, so.
I loved how you had the students front and center in the auditorium.
And they were able to write questions on note cards beforehand, and they incorporated them in the conversation. A couple of them they got to. And one was, what are your favorite shoes? And he had opinions, and he could see the kids sitting right in the front row, see what shoes he was wearing, and that was good. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah,
Thank you
It's
for that.
really good.
I didn't get a chance to come and I wanted to, but we had a family thing, so I did listen to several interviews online and things just to try to get a feel for
Yeah,
who he was and what we were doing. It was good.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Keep it up.
That's the principle.
That's a principle. All right, I have a motion and a second for adjournment. All in favor?
Right.
I think this is kind of heavy-handed,
I
Margaret.
know.
Smack it.
Oh, I didn't say, all in favor, say aye.
I
Opposed?
Okay, now you can do it again.
I do it again.
Louder.
Jason, louder. Stop, louder.
All right, thank you all.
You do that.